The moment the judge pronounced them husband and husband, Ethan Reynolds felt the world tilt on its axis. He had just married Victor Hale, the 71-year-old billionaire whose empire spanned tech giants and real estate empires, and in that instant, everything he knew about his struggling life as a poor law student vanished. The small private ceremony on the rooftop of Victor's Manhattan penthouse had seemed like a dream only hours earlier, but now the weight of the gold band on his finger felt heavier than any textbook he had ever carried. Cameras flashed from the few trusted guests, mostly Victor's business associates, and Ethan forced a smile even as his heart raced with a mix of joy and terror. It had all started 6 months earlier at NYU Law School. Ethan, 24 and scraping by on scholarships and part-time barista shifts, had attended a guest lecture on corporate ethics. Victor Hale, silver-haired and commanding in a custom suit, had spoken with quiet authority about legacy and second chances. After the talk, Victor approached him directly, praising a question Ethan had asked from the back row. "You have fire, son," Victor said, his voice warm despite the age lines around his eyes. What began as coffee meetings turned into dinners, then weekends at Victor's Hamptons estate. Ethan, who had come out to himself in high school, but never dared tell his conservative parents back in rural Ohio, found himself drawn to the older man's steady presence. Victor listened when Ethan spoke of his dreams to become a civil rights lawyer, of the mountain of student debt and the fear that he would never break free from poverty. Victor's proposal came on a crisp autumn evening in Central Park. "Marry me, Ethan," he had said simply, kneeling despite the stiffness in his knees. "Not for the money, but because life is too short, and I've waited long enough for someone like you." Ethan had cried that night, torn between the fairy tale and the reality of their 30-year age gap. His family would never understand. Society would whisper. But Victor promised support, freedom, and a partnership that felt real. Now, standing beside his new husband as confetti rained down, Ethan pushed those doubts aside. This was his new beginning. The reception was intimate, just 20 people. Victor's longtime assistant, Margaret, hugged Ethan tightly. "He's been alone too long," she whispered. Ethan nodded, but inside he wondered what alone truly meant for a man like Victor. Later that night, in the penthouse overlooking the glittering skyline, Victor poured 2 glasses of champagne. "To us," he toasted, his hand steady on Ethan's shoulder. They talked for hours about the future, Ethan sharing stories of late-night study sessions, and Victor recounting his rise from small-town accountant to billionaire. No pressure, no expectations beyond companionship and love. Ethan fell asleep feeling seen for the first time. The next morning brought the first real test. News of the marriage leaked online, headlines screaming about the May-December gay union between the reclusive tycoon and the unknown law student. Ethan's phone exploded with messages from old friends, some congratulatory, others confused. His mother called from Ohio, voice cracking. "Ethan, what have you done? This isn't you. Come home." He hung up, tears stinging his eyes, and Victor pulled him into a gentle embrace. "They'll come around, or they won't. But you're not alone anymore." That afternoon, Victor transferred the first payment toward Ethan's remaining tuition, insisting it was a gift, not a transaction. Ethan accepted, grateful yet uneasy about how quickly his world had shifted from ramen noodles to private drivers. As the week unfolded, Ethan moved his few belongings into the penthouse. The place was a far cry from his cramped Brooklyn studio. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a library filled with first editions, and a home office Victor had already stocked with law books. Victor encouraged him to finish his final semester without worry. "Focus on becoming the lawyer you were meant to be," he said one evening over dinner prepared by a personal chef. Ethan studied late into the nights, Victor reading nearby with a quiet smile. But in quiet moments, Ethan caught Victor staring at old photos on his desk, a shadow crossing his face. When asked, Victor waved it off. Just memories of the past. Ethan didn't press, telling himself every couple had history. By the end of the week, the couple attended a charity gala together. Cameras followed them relentlessly, whispers about the age difference and Victor's sexuality rippling through the crowd. Ethan held Victor's hand tightly, feeling both proud and exposed. Back home, Victor kissed his forehead softly. "You're braver than I was at your age." That night, as they sat on the balcony under the stars, Ethan opened up about his childhood fears, the bullying in high school for being different, and the loneliness of hiding who he was. Victor listened without judgment, sharing fragments of his own youth in the 1970s when being gay meant living in shadows. For the first time, Ethan felt the marriage wasn't just a rescue. It was a bridge between two lonely souls. Yet doubts lingered. Was this love or gratitude mixed with desperation? His bank account now showed a balance he had never imagined, but his heart questioned if he deserved it. Victor sensed the turmoil and suggested a short trip to the Hamptons to escape the media. There, walking the beach hand in hand, Ethan watched the waves and made a silent vow. He would build a life with this man, no matter what came next. Little did he know the foundation they stood on had cracks that stretched back 2 full decades, waiting patiently to widen. The Hamptons' escape turned into a month of quiet adjustment that Ethan would later call the honeymoon phase, even though no tropical getaway was involved. Victor's beach house felt like a sanctuary, far from the prying eyes of New York tabloids that continued to speculate about their gay marriage. Ethan finished his last exams remotely, graduating with honors thanks to Victor's encouragement and the financial freedom that let him study without exhaustion. "I'm proud of you," Victor said at the small celebration dinner, raising a glass to Ethan's achievement. The words landed deep, filling a void Ethan hadn't realized existed since his parents stopped speaking to him. Back in the city, Ethan started his first job at a prestigious firm specializing in family law, ironically handling cases of inheritance disputes and domestic partnerships. Victor pulled strings discreetly, but Ethan insisted on earning his position through interviews and merit. Colleagues raised eyebrows at the connection to Victor Hale, but Ethan's work ethic silenced most gossip. Mornings began with coffee together, Victor reading the financial news while Ethan reviewed case files. Evenings often ended with long talks on the balcony, where Victor shared stories of building his empire from nothing after losing his first love to illness in the early 90s. "Time teaches you what matters," Victor would say softly, squeezing Ethan's hand. Those moments made the age gap feel irrelevant, replaced by a steady companionship Ethan had craved his whole life. Yet society refused to let them forget. At a firm holiday party, Ethan's boss pulled him aside. "People talk, Ethan. The optics of your situation." Ethan defended their love fiercely, but the conversation left him rattled. Victor listened that night without anger, only quiet understanding. "I've faced worse. We'll weather it." Their bond deepened through small acts. Victor attending Ethan's court hearings in the back row, Ethan cooking simple meals on weekends to remind Victor that not everything needed a staff. Friendship blossomed into something warmer, marked by shared laughter and mutual respect. Ethan began volunteering at an LGBT youth center, inspired by Victor's quiet donations to similar causes. "You make me want to give back," Ethan confessed one night, and Victor's eyes shone with something like regret mixed with affection. 5 years slipped by in this rhythm of growth. Ethan made partner of the firm, his salary now respectable even without Victor's support. They traveled to Paris and Tokyo, where Ethan watched Victor negotiate deals with the same quiet power that had first drawn him in. Family wounds fester, though. Ethan's mother sent a single letter begging him to come to his senses before it was too late. Victor helped draft a response full of compassion, but the silence that followed hurt. "Some bridges burn," Victor said, holding Ethan through the tears. In return, Ethan stood by Victor during a minor health scare, a heart arrhythmia that required monitoring. The hospital wait reminded Ethan how fragile time truly was. Misunderstandings arose naturally. Once, Ethan overheard Victor on a late-night call, discussing the long plan with his lawyer. When questioned, Victor smiled. "Just business, darling. Nothing for you to worry about." Ethan accepted it, chalking it up to the billionaire's world of secrets. Another time, a tabloid article suggested Victor had bought the marriage for image reasons. Ethan confronted him, and Victor pulled out old journals proving his genuine loneliness before they met. "I chose you because you reminded me of hope," he said. The reassurance solidified their partnership, and Ethan threw himself into a pro bono case, helping gay couples with adoption rights, feeling his identity strengthen rather than hide. By year 7, Ethan had transformed from the broke student into a confident advocate. Victor's health stabilized with medication, and their evenings often involved reading side by side or hosting quiet dinners for LGBT friends Victor had kept at arm's length for decades. Ethan noticed how Victor watched him with pride, as if measuring growth. Yet subtle cracks appeared. Victor's occasional late nights in the study, poring over yellow documents he quickly filed away. Ethan respected the privacy, focusing instead on building their shared life. He started a scholarship fund in both their names for underprivileged law students, mirroring the help Victor had given him. "This is what marriage means to me," Ethan told him during a quiet anniversary toast. Victor hugged him tightly, whispering, "You've given me more than I ever deserved." The decade mark approached with a sense of stability Ethan once thought impossible. They renewed their vows privately on the same rooftop, exchanging simple bands etched with their initials. Ethan felt truly married, not rescued. But in the back of his mind, those old phone calls and locked drawers lingered like faint warnings. Victor's empire continued expanding, and Ethan handled more of the legal side, learning the intricacies of trusts and legacies. Their love had evolved from spark to steady flame, tested by prejudice and time, yet unbroken. Ethan believed nothing could shatter it, unaware that the conspiracy woven into their union was only beginning to tighten. 10 years into the marriage, Ethan Reynolds had become the man he had always hoped to be, yet the shadows from Victor's past refused to stay buried. Their penthouse now felt like a true home, filled with books Ethan had collected and art they chose together during trips abroad. Ethan's career soared. He led high-profile cases fighting discrimination against LGBT families, earning respect that had nothing to do with his husband's name. Victor attended every victory party, his silver hair gleaming under lights as he toasted his husband with genuine pride. "You changed the world a little today," Victor would say, and Ethan believed him. Family pressures peaked when Ethan's father suffered a stroke back in Ohio. Despite years of silence, Ethan flew home alone, hoping reconciliation. His mother met him at the hospital, eyes cold. "This life you chose with that man, it's unnatural." The words cut deep, but Ethan stood tall, explaining how Victor had supported his dreams without demanding anything in return. He left without closure, returning to New York where Victor waited with open arms and no questions. "Blood doesn't always mean family," Victor reminded him gently. That night, they talked for hours about belonging, and Ethan realized his chosen family, including Victor's loyal staff and their growing circle of friends, had become his anchor. Around year 12, Victor's health took a serious turn with a diagnosis of early-stage prostate issues. The news shook Ethan to his core. He took a leave from the firm to accompany Victor to treatments, researching every option and holding his hand through appointments. "I won't lose you," Ethan vowed during one sleepless night in the hospital. Victor smiled weakly. "You've already given me 20 years more happiness than I expected." Their bond deepened through vulnerability. Ethan organized a small gathering of close friends at the penthouse, where stories flowed about Victor's younger days fighting for gay rights in boardrooms when it was career suicide. Ethan saw his husband anew, not as the untouchable billionaire, but as a survivor. Societal judgment evolved too. What once made headlines now drew quiet admiration in progressive circles. Ethan spoke at conferences about age gap relationships within the LGBT community, emphasizing consent and growth over stereotypes. Victor watched from the audience, eyes misty, yet internal conflicts brewed. Ethan discovered an old letter in Victor's desk while searching for medical records, mentioning the arrangement from 20 years ago. When confronted, Victor dismissed it as business from his pre-Ethan days. "Let the past stay buried," he said firmly. Ethan trusted him, focusing instead on advocacy work that honored their journey. Friendships tested them as well. Ethan's closest colleague, Marcus grew suspicious of Victor's influence. "He's twice your age, Ethan. What if there's more to this?" A heated argument followed, straining their professional bond until Marcus apologized after seeing Victor's quiet support during a tough case. Ethan forgave easily, but the exchange forced him to examine his own doubts. Had gratitude blinded him? No, he concluded after a weekend alone with Victor at the Hamptons, where they walked beaches and shared dreams for the future. Their love had matured into partnership, marked by sacrifice and understanding. By year 15, Ethan had launched his own small firm focused on LGBT rights, funded partly by savings but mostly by passion. Victor stepped back from daily business, mentoring Ethan on corporate strategy. Together, they funded shelters for young gay men rejected by families, echoing Ethan's own past. Victor's health improved with treatment, and they celebrated with a quiet cruise along the Alaskan coast. There, under northern lights, Victor opened up about losing his first partner decades earlier. "I thought I'd never love again until you." Ethan held him close, feeling the weight of time, but also its gift. Misunderstandings still surfaced. Victor's lawyer visited frequently, discussing contingency plans. Ethan overheard snippets about long-term trusts, but chose silence, respecting boundaries. Prejudice lingered in unexpected places, like a family friend's wedding where relatives avoided them. Ethan confronted the discomfort head-on, educating rather than retreating. Victor's quiet pride fueled his courage. Their relationship had become a testament to resilience, built on choices that defied odds. Ethan felt complete, yet the faint unease from those old documents lingered like a distant storm cloud. He pushed it away, focusing on the man who had transformed his life from poverty to purpose. 15 years of marriage had forged Ethan and Victor into an unbreakable team, but the legal world Ethan mastered began revealing cracks in their foundation. His firm now handled landmark cases, including one challenging outdated inheritance laws affecting same-sex couples. Victor advised from the sidelines, his insights sharp despite slowing health. "You become the lawyer I always knew you could be," he said during strategy sessions in their home office. Ethan thrived on the praise, but success brought new pressures. Old friend from law school reached out, some envious of his fairy tale, others questioning how a poor student had risen so fast. Victor's minor heart episode in year 17 forced another reckoning. Ethan canceled client meetings to be at his bedside, reading aloud from favorite books to pass the hours. "I chose this life with you," Ethan whispered when Victor apologized for the burden. Recovery brought them closer. They sold the Hamptons house to simplify life, donating proceeds to LGBT charities. Ethan organized a surprise birthday party for Victor, inviting the few family members who had softened over time. His mother even sent a card, a small crack in the wall of rejection. Victor's eyes filled with emotion. "You've healed parts of me I thought were gone." Tensions rose when a rival firm approached Ethan with a lucrative offer. He turned it down to stay independent, but the decision strained their finances temporarily. Victor offered help without hesitation, yet Ethan refused, determined to prove his independence. "This marriage isn't about money anymore," he insisted. Victor respected it, watching with quiet admiration as Ethan navigated the challenge. Their evenings grew more intimate in conversation, discussing regrets and futures. Ethan shared fears of growing older alone. Victor confessed lingering guilt over past business decisions that hurt people. "We all carry burdens," Ethan replied, strengthening their emotional bond. Around year 19, Victor's business empire faced a quiet threat from old competitors. He asked Ethan to review confidential files, trusting his expertise. Ethan dove in, uncovering patterns of long-term contracts that seemed overly complex. One file referenced the Reynolds connection, Ethan's last name. When questioned, Victor attributed it to coincidence. Ethan let it go, focused on supporting his husband through mounting stress. They took a restorative trip to Italy, where Victor proposed renewing vows again. Under the Tuscan sun, Ethan said yes without hesitation, their love a steady anchor amid uncertainty. Back home, societal acceptance had grown, but personal crises tested them. Ethan's father passed away, and the funeral brought painful confrontations with extended family who blamed his lifestyle. Victor flew out to stand beside him, enduring cold stares with dignity. "You're my strength," Ethan told him on the flight home. The experience deepened Ethan's commitment to advocacy, launching a foundation in his father's memory for reconciliation programs. Victor contributed generously, his pride evident. Their partnership had evolved into mutual sacrifice, each man shaping the other's growth. Subtle betrayals of trust emerged in small ways. Victor's late-night calls increased, and Ethan found locked drawers containing letters dated 2 decades earlier. He respected privacy, but felt the first real rift of doubt. A close friend warned him gently about billionaire secrets, prompting Ethan to reflect on his journey from desperate student to accomplished man. He chose faith over fear, planning a special anniversary surprise. As the 20th year dawned, Ethan believed their story was one of triumph. Victor's health held steady, and their love felt timeless. The conspiracy, however, was about to surface, demanding choices neither had anticipated. File 5. The 20th anniversary arrived with fanfare Ethan never expected. Friends and supporters filled the penthouse for a celebration honoring their gay marriage that had defied odds. Victor looked frail but radiant in his tailored suit, toasting the man who had given him purpose. Ethan spoke from the heart about growth, prejudice overcome, and love that transcended age and status. "You saved me in ways I can't repay," he told Victor privately later, their embrace lingering under the city lights. The next morning, however, everything shattered. While Victor slept, Ethan searched for anniversary documents in the study and stumbled upon a hidden safe. Inside were contracts dated exactly 20 years earlier, outlining the Hale-Reynolds arrangement. Ethan's name appeared repeatedly, not as a beloved partner, but as the key to a legal maneuver. Victor had chosen him deliberately because Ethan's uncle had won a lawsuit against Victor's company decades ago, bankrupting part of the empire. The marriage was the long con. By wedding Ethan and guiding his legal career, Victor ensured control over a trust that would expire after 20 years, reclaiming assets and settling an old score through inheritance clauses only a skilled lawyer like Ethan could navigate unknowingly. The papers detailed how Victor had engineered their meeting at the lecture, monitored Ethan's life, and used affection as the perfect cover. Ethan's world collapsed. He confronted Victor that afternoon, voice trembling with betrayal. Was any of it real? The love, the support, the life we built. Victor's face aged visibly. "It started as revenge, Ethan. Your family took everything from me once. But the feelings, they became real years ago. I fell in love with the man you became." Ethan stormed out, spending nights at a hotel replaying every moment. The conspiracy explained the locked files, the mysterious calls, the long plan. Friends offered support, but the internal crisis consumed him. Identity questions flooded back. Had he sacrificed his true self for a lie? Family rejection now felt prophetic. Victor pleaded for understanding, revealing his terminal diagnosis hidden for months. "I wanted to give you everything before I go to atone." Ethan faced the ultimate choice: expose the scheme publicly, destroying Victor's legacy, or confront the pain privately. He chose the latter, hiring an independent lawyer to untangle the finances. The process exposed deeper layers, including how Victor had protected Ethan from his own family's financial ruin years earlier. Anger mixed with pity as Ethan processed the sacrifice Victor had made in loving him despite the original motive. Society's prejudices paled against this personal earthquake. Ethan withdrew from cases, questioning his entire career built on Victor's guidance. The revelation forced profound growth. Ethan visited his mother's home unannounced, sharing the truth and finding unexpected empathy. "Love changes people," she admitted. Back in New York, he and Victor talked through nights, dissecting decisions and consequences. Victor's health declined rapidly, the stress accelerating his condition. Ethan stayed, not out of obligation, but a complicated forgiveness forming. The 20-year mark had exposed the conspiracy, but it also illuminated their shared humanity. Ethan realized his journey from poor student to advocate had been genuine, even if the catalyst was flawed. The betrayal tested every boundary, pushing him towards self-reliance he never knew he possessed. Victor's final weeks unfolded in the penthouse that had once symbolized their union. Ethan sat by his bedside, reading case files aloud as he had during earlier illnesses, the conspiracy now a raw wound they'd both acknowledged. "I never meant for it to hurt you this way," Victor whispered, his hand frail in Ethan's. The empire transferred legally to Ethan as the trust unlocked, but wealth felt hollow against the emotional cost. Friends rallied, offering perspectives on redemption and second chances. Ethan navigated the media storm when partial details leaked, framing their story as one of complex love rather than scandal. His firm took on cases representing betrayed spouses, channeling pain into purpose. At the private funeral, Ethan stood tall, delivering a eulogy that honored Victor's flaws and strengths. "He taught me that love isn't perfect, but growth comes from facing the truth." Family attended, reconciliation tentative but real. Ethan sold the penthouse, donating proceeds to LGBT causes they had supported together. He moved to a modest apartment, continuing his advocacy work with newfound clarity. The 20 years had transformed him from a desperate student into a man who understood sacrifice, betrayal, and forgiveness on the deepest level. Relationships with friends strengthened, and he mentored young gay lawyers, warning of hidden agendas while celebrating authentic bonds. Years later, reflecting on the rooftop where it began, Ethan realized the conspiracy had forced his awakening. He dated again, cautiously, seeking partners who valued honesty above all. The experience reshaped his view of family and society, proving that identity emerges stronger through crisis. Victor's atonement, though imperfect, had given Ethan tools to build a legacy of his own. The pain faded into wisdom, the love into a bittersweet memory that propelled him forward. True or false? A relationship built on deception can still lead to genuine personal growth and lasting forgiveness?